Hi, welcome to Ben and Barry on Football. My name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. This is the Matchup Show. My compadre in crime here is.
I am Ben Dickerson, ready to talk about these matchups.
Wow, speaking of, this is week 15?
Correct.
Going into week 15, that means we have 2 more weeks of the regular season left.
Yeah.
17
After
weeks.
this, yes.
After this weekend, I mean, this is it. This is a stretch, man. And the 100-yard dash, we're at about the 80-yard line here. If not the 80, about the 80-yard line, somewhere around there, 75, 85. I mean, this is about it. One thing about this weekend I want to mention real quick: we have 2 Saturday games. So we're going to talk about the Thursday night game. We'll talk about the 2 Saturday games. We have Sunday games with a very special game scheduled for Sunday night, and then a really interesting matchup on Monday.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. So yeah, let me share the information here. Let's see what it is that we're talking about. So when we discuss these matchups, we look at them based on net points. And back. That's it. Yeah. We talk about in terms of net points, turnover differential, and what we call the bias. And let's just take a moment to again talk about what that is, because once you understand it, everything makes sense. So when we talk about the bias, we're looking at a game where you got 2 teams. Each team has a certain amount of net points at that point in the season. And the difference between the net points of the 2 opposing teams is called the bias. And you have a bias for the team with the greater net points, and you have a bias against the team with lesser net points. So even if you look at this this graph, you can see that a little over about half of the teams are in the positive, and the other half are in the negative. But again, the bias is if you got one team and they have 10 net points, and they're playing a team that has 5 net points, that difference is 5. So the bias is 5, and it's for the team with the 10 and going against the team with the 5. And the idea is that this is what they've done. This is just, as they come into this game, this is their records, right, for what they've been able to do in terms of scoring differential. And the big dog is playing the little dog. Doesn't mean that the little dog can't win. All we talk about is not necessarily predictive. It's more trend-oriented for type forecasting. It's like if you're buying a stock and they say, past performance is no guarantee of future performance. However, when you buy a stock, the first thing you want to look at is their past performance. Because you got to know that in order to even trend out, you know what I mean? So, long story short, that's the bias. And we look at the bias both in terms of net points and in terms of turnover differential, and we combine those two to form what we call the bias plus for and the bias plus. So let's get started looking at the schedule. So Thursday night, we have the LAC, that's the Los Angeles Chargers, facing the Chiefs coming in on a short week. They played Sunday, right? So they're coming in, both teams played on, so they both have short weeks, so that's equal. The Chiefs had a net point bias. NP stands for net points of 115, and a turnover differential in their favor of 1, giving the Chiefs a bias plus 4 score of 116. What do you think about that?
Well, since you mentioned the short weeks, that also brings to mind injuries. And when you have an injury, especially if it's a fresh one from the previous Sunday, and you got a Thursday night game, that really plays a big part.
You don't have the healing time.
You don't have that healing time. So sometimes guys cannot be counted on to make it. Now, of course, they're going to take it down to the wire. There'll be some game time decisions. Unfortunately for the Chiefs, one of those game time decisions might be Tyreek Hill. was a big part of their offense. If he's down, then they might have to go with Chris Conley. Right, they picked up Kelvin Benjamin. Now, he hasn't done anything yet, and to tell you the truth, I'm not even sure a receiver like him actually fits in their offense, but he might get pressed into taking some more snaps. Kelsey, of course, will be their number one target, and their running game is not hurting at all. So I think they'll be all right. The Chargers are dealing with Melvin Gordon now. He's missed last week. He should be better.
You think he's coming back?
Well, they're saying he's progressing, but he's still practicing on a limited basis. Now, practicing on a limited basis is better than not practicing. If I was them, I would not play him. Problem is, the next guy up, Austin Eckler, is also injured. He's got a concussion.
Yeah.
So you definitely don't want to play a guy with a concussion on a short week. So now we go to the next guy, Justin Jackson, who has shown some promise. But do you want to play him 100%? Or do you want to try to get Gordon in slowly, even on a little pitch count? It's going to be interesting.
We don't really know what if Gordon's 90%, 80%.
I haven't heard a percentage per se. Usually, if a guy practices on a limited basis, if they had a Sunday game and he was practicing on a limited basis on Wednesday,
right? Okay.
And then again on Thursday, you would keep your fingers crossed for a full practice on Friday. You would know that he's playing.
Okay.
But on a short week, it's really tough to tell.
So you're going with the bias?
I am going with the bias. I'm going to stick with the Chiefs. I think that they'll be fine.
The bias plus score of 116 in their favor. It would be an upset. And it's, the Chargers, I mean, the Super Bowl conversation around the Chargers is so strong that the bias number is just kind of amazing.
The MVP talk going around about Phillip Rivers. I know what you're saying. And if anybody can go into Arrowhead and pull out a win, I'd say it might be this team.
It's funny because, anyway, let's move on to the Saturday games. We have 2 Saturday games. Houston and the Jets. The Jets are home. And the Browns and Denver.
These are both Saturday evening, correct?
Yeah, these are going to be evening games. And there you go. You can see here. Both in the evening, so don't plan too much on Saturdays. Keep your Saturday there. Houston has a net point bias in their favor of 124 and a turnover margin bias of 16, giving them a 140 and almost. So third place in terms of having a high bias plus score of 140 going in favor of Houston.
Yeah, I like the Texans in this one. I'm going to stick with the bias on this one again also. They got their feelings hurt a little bit last week. They played a tough game with the Colts. It was a close score, like 24-21, but they lost their winning streak. And that was a big winning streak. It was like 8 or 9 games in a row. So they're feeling some kind of way. They're going to go into New York. Jets coming off a nice little win. It was over the Bills. It was a nice little win for them, considering their quarterback situation. But I think Houston's far better than the Jets. They should take them out.
More complete. And Sean playing pretty well.
Sean's playing
well now.
They didn't have his greatest game last week, but they're playing well. They're putting points in
two
score.
very young quarterbacks.
Yes.
Sean basically is still almost like his first year because he didn't really get to do much of it last year.
No, he didn't. Well, no.
But he's a second-year quarterback in terms of being in the system, so absolutely. And then we have the Browns. Baker Mayfield going to Denver. Denver has a 48 net point bias in their favor. They are tied in terms of turnover differential, both at 9, plus 9.
Yeah.
So, but Denver comes out with a 48 score, bias plus score for a full.
Yeah, Denver is one of these teams that's really hard to put your finger on. One day they're playing tremendous defense, getting all kind of crazy sacks and turnovers and looking great, and then next they forget how to pass and catch. And the best thing they got going for them is their running game right now, and that's basically Bigfoot Lindsay. 3 very young wide receivers that they have to depend on since Sanders went down. But again, they got their feelings hurt going into San Fran and playing your beloved 49ers. Okay, so again, hopefully they're mad. They're going to be home. It's in Mile High. It's going to be a night game. I mean, everything's
cold, thin air.
Cold, thin air. Yeah.
Imagine.
And I got to go with him. I just hope Case Keenum can get his head out of his behind. Put it nicely. But yeah, I'm sticking again, going with the bias, going with Denver.
Going with Denver. Sunday.
Nice slate of games.
Arizona, Atlanta.
Good.
Now, bias favors Atlanta. The reason that it's in red is because both of these teams have negative net points. So that differential is all on the negative side. Atlanta does also have the turnover differential in their favor. Again, all negative turnover differential. But Atlanta's coming in with a bias plus for the score of 103. Who do you like?
I was trying to push Arizona a couple of weeks ago, and then they welcomed Detroit into the desert and lay an egg. Detroit's not really very good at all. I can't figure out. First of all, I can't figure out what's wrong with their offense because they can't figure out what's wrong. I like their quarterback. I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to prove to be a pretty good NFL quarterback. But when you got Larry Fitzgerald, yeah, he's getting old, but so what? He can still run. He can still catch. He's still a great route runner. You got David Johnson. You got weapons. Like I don't know. I can't figure them out. So I'm not going with them. I'm going to take Atlanta at home. They have no defense to speak of, but neither does Detroit. So what the heck?
So you're going with the bias?
Yeah, I'm going with the bias again. Well, yeah, I know. It makes me look like, like I don't know what I'm doing. But don't worry, that's going to change as we go down.
as we go down the games here. What do we have? Detroit. We were just talking bad about them. The Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills. Where's Buffalo in? Who's coming? 30th in net points. Detroit is 22nd in net points. So again,
73 bias though. That's that would kind of make you lean toward Detroit, wouldn't it?
The bias for is 73 in favor of Detroit. And again, you gotta remember Buffalo's been through quarterback changes, and they've won kind of nice, and they've had some surprising wins, and then they turn around and they get smashed. So on a net point basis, let's face it, Detroit's just been maybe a little less egregious.
Yeah, the more I think about this, I just feel like I'm getting set up for Detroit to go on the road and win another doggone game. First they go to the desert and win. Now they're going to the frigid cold of Buffalo. And I'm thinking, okay, Buffalo's home. They had a tough one against the Jets. Detroit's not really that good. They should be okay. They should pull this one out at home. And then I remember Shady's got a hamstring.
Does he?
Yeah. So now their running game is jacked up. They got rid of Kelvin Benjamin, but he wasn't doing anything anyway. So now their number one wideout is probably Zay Jones. I mean, I got them circled. I picked them to win, but I'm going to change that one. I'm trying to be honest with the audience. I did originally think that they were going to win this game, but I'm going to go with Detroit.
Okay.
I
So
think they're
you're
going to
with the
make a
bias here.
last-ditch effort. I think Detroit really likes their coach now that they've gotten to know him, because there were some rumblings in
Oh, really?
their locker room. Yeah, well, they weren't taking too well to the Patriot way,
Mm,
you know. But I think they're coming around,
okay.
and guys want to keep their jobs. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Detroit.
I think they've been using Blunt a little more.
They not playing. Look,
Who
They have
should
Blunt.
never let go.
they should never let him go. There is nothing wrong with LeGarrette Blunt. He's just as good as he was last year. To me, he hasn't lost anything. Now, obviously, he's lost something from when he was with the Patriots, and he scored 18 touchdowns that 1 year.
Right.
Yeah, but he helped carry the Eagles to the Super Bowl last year. Played his part in that committee of running backs. Played a huge part. Okay, and he still looks, with the eye test, to me, to be the same as he was last year. It just took them a minute to figure it out because they're trying to get Kerryon Johnson in there. And these coaches with this committee thing, they need to really rethink that. But, you know, who am I?
Well, you look at teams like the Rams.
You end up screwing yourselves up and losing games trying to figure out something that you should be able to figure out in practice.
Well, we talked about that with the Eagles in terms of like this year. We said, okay, you know, what are they doing with their running backs? And my contention was they've got plays and certain personnel for that play. They don't have
I understand the
first
concept.
down, second down running back,
Right.
third down running back, you know, whatever. Last year, you know, it's once they settled, you know, because they kind of went through that thing. We didn't know who they wanted to start and, you know, what their rotation was going to be. Once they settled, that tandem was great.
Yeah, they went. Ajay was the main guy. Blunt was the short yardage and touchdown guy. Corey was the passing down guy.
And
I
you
got
knew
no
that.
problem with
Yeah.
that. They knew it. Everybody knew it.
Everybody knew what
Everybody played their
role
role, and it worked out really well. I'm not saying committees stink. I'm just saying
was. This
you
year,
can't figure out what
it's-
everybody's
it's-
role is.
shotgun XYZ has Sproles in it. Single back.
And now he done scored a touchdown, so now they think he's Black
Oh,
Jesus. He's
God.
gonna bring him back.
Let's
not go
there and go there. Let's move on so that you're going with the bias there, Detroit.
Yeah.
All right, look at this. Look at here, division. Chicago, Green Bay has to go into the frozen. No, well,
No.
they're leaving the frozen tundra to
They're
go
going
into
to the Windy City.
Windy City. It's all cold over there. Nobody should be complaining about the weather. But Chicago's coming in with 104 net point bias in their favor.
Nice size bias.
Since they're so
Ooh, look at the bias plus though.
look at the turnover differential in their favor at 11, giving them a 115 bias plus 4 score in favor of the Bears.
Yeah, I'm going to start taking a closer look at that and the correlation between the bias, the difference between the bias and the bias plus. That's a nice little leap there from 104 to a final bias plus of 115. Chicago is a strong team. Green Bay is reeling a little bit. This one might get ugly. Chicago's at home, coming off a big win. Didn't they beat the Rams? Oh my. Oh, Green Bay might. Oh.
Yeah, they're feeling themselves. They're feeling themselves for sure.
This might not be good for Aaron. Aaron's gonna be. Oh, I can't wait to watch the post game after this one because he's always interesting in the post game interview.
I know.
I gotta go with the Bears here.
Well, if he, you know, and Camille Mack plays the side that I think Aaron likes to roll on to, that right, likes that side a little more.
Yeah, Max on the left side.
So,
Left side of the defense.
yeah, so
Actually, they moved him around a little bit.
They move him
A
around
little
now.
bit. A little bit.
Maybe that was more early when he was still trying to figure out, you know.
Yeah, they let him get settled in one spot.
Yeah. Okay. So, the Bears at a 115. You going with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oakland Raiders, Cincinnati Bengals. Again, in red, because both teams are negative net points. Both teams are negative in turnover differential. However, the Bengals are less negative, and wound up with a bias plus 4 score of 58.
Less negative.
Less negative, closer to 0.
All right, enough of this going with the bias stuff. I really don't like the Bengals. I really don't. I like Joe Mixon, but I don't like the Bengals.
Even against the Raiders?
Did you see how happy their fans were last week?
Kind of like the Browns winning their first game.
Yeah. Gruden was all smiles, like it's all right, y'all. Everything's gonna be fine.
After the game,
giving high fives to the crowd. Yeah, Oakland's gonna beat them.
That was pretty definitive, mister.
Oakland's gonna beat them.
Yeah.
I hate the Bengals.
All right, that's not what you
uniforms.
So that's not why you think Oakland's going to beat them, because you hate the Bengals. You hate Marvin Lewis. That's what you hate.
I hate Marvin Lewis. I hate their uniforms. I hate everything about them, except Joe Mixon. I like Joe Mixon.
You like Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon took a lot of flack on talk radio in Philadelphia before the draft because people had the audacity to say, we need a running back. We should maybe pick Joe Mixon. He hit somebody. He hit a girl. Oh, they trashed him.
Oh, really?
They trashed him. You didn't hear nobody talk about it. That's good.
Did he hit a girl?
Yeah, he did. She was following around and calling him names, sitting and stuff. Stop. I don't condone that kind of stuff. I'm just saying.
It's really a sensitive time.
Some people don't even know Tyreek Hill beat the snot out of somebody. So
really?
Yeah. And now everybody loves Tyreek Hill. Oh, he hit the joystick. Oh. Some of these, just like we talk about all the good things these guys do, some of these dudes have some checkered past, okay? It's just funny how certain people are looked at one way and certain people are looked at another way. But I don't want to get into that too much.
We could get political on that one.
Yeah, but I'm going to take the Raiders. I really am. I'm picking the Raiders to win.
Going against the bias. 58 is not a big bias anyway, but I can understand that. Okay. I think this might be my intriguing game.
This is an intriguing game.
Dallas. There's a team, the Colts. The Colts have a 19 net point bias in their favor, a 1 turnover bias in their favor, giving the Colts a bias plus of 20 in their favor. And see that 20 and bias plus 4 score for the Colts.
That's a very small bias.
Small bias.
There's only a 1 point difference between the bias itself and the bias plus. Dallas's defense, I think everybody now believes in them wholeheartedly. But the Colts can be very explosive on offense, especially on their home turf. This is a real tough one to call, but I am not going to go with the bias. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys. Dak looks like he's really feeling good about himself. He still gets a little sketchy in games, especially if the score is close. But if they can get Zeke going and they can get out front and he can play comfortably, which a good defense will allow you to do, I think they'll be all right.
Amari has really helped open up.
Absolutely.
Make that offense run.
Absolutely.
Whoever on that organization, I think it was the owner, said we don't need a number one.
He said that early in the season. He said they were fine.
No.
He woke up out of his dream and went, you know what, this isn't working. Forget I said that. And not only did he get a number one, but he went all out, spent a number one pick for him, which makes sense because if you look at Amari Cooper, his past production and his age, and then you look at the draft crop, probably would have had to spend a number one on a receiver. He's better than anybody coming out of the draft. So basically, you got Amari Cooper in the draft.
Let me tell you something. Amari Cooper was running away from those Eagles big time. I'm talking, 9 routes up the in game. So,
you can run a straight go whenever you feel like it. That's a bit of an indictment on the backs, but
the D-backs, and you knew they were weak coming in.
He's an explosive guy.
You knew they were weak coming in. So,
And it's funny, we were talking about Amari Cooper when he first came. We're like, well, it's going to take him some time to learn the playbook and blah, 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 which is true. Okay. But when they interviewed him and talked to him about that long catch that he scored on, he said that was communication between him and Dak. And Dak, yeah, you need to learn the playbook. Yeah, you need to know how the team runs the routes and their verbiage and all that stuff. But it's the time in the meeting rooms with Dak and getting that communication thing. That's what's most important. They had a play that we run on our flag team, all of us. Everybody goes down. They take theirs down like 8 to 10. We run ours like 3 to 5. But
Okay.
and everybody just go down, 2 receivers over here, 2 receivers over here, and they all hook up. And then Dak just has to pick one. Boom, get it to him, try to get run after the catch. And they had run it a few times previously. So Amari said when he called it and they were breaking the huddle, he's like, damn, Dak, again? Got out there and lined up. Dak looked over and he gave him something. He told me what he did. I think he gave him a wave off like, no, don't run the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And then he touched his face or he touched his helmet. And that told him to go. And here we go.
When, and again, I love playing Madden. You know what you have out there, especially, relative to speed. And if you got one of those matchups where you can say he's eating, he's leaving, then you look up and you got this receiver, especially Eagle receiver, all up on your man.
Eagle D-backs.
All up on your receiver, step, and if he's even, he's leaving. You just got to put it out there,
Great pass by Dak for all the Dak haters out there.
And, we're in Philadelphia, listening to the media and the fans, and all they're talking about is their team vibes. But I did have to remind them that there was some what I thought was makeup calls. There was the one, I don't think they like Greg. That's fine. I don't think the rest like that. Whatever reason. He had 2 that were like, one, they called roughing the passer.
Was that the one where he got him from behind? Reds? Come on, man.
I was like,
what do they want these cats to do? Like, my job is to sack
guy
the
was
quarterback.
knocking him into the ground, and all he did was reach out to grab his
And
leg.
just pull his leg.
Yeah, and they
That is
called
not the
roughing.
same team.
That was atrocious. I mean, the Eagles had a couple of atrocious ones, but
The rule is you can't go low
It was
from
equally
in
bad
front
for
of
the
him,
refs. Right.
where you could hit his lower legs and do damage to his ankles or his knees.
Right.
He's behind him. He basically just tripped him up. He just pulled his leg out.
Right. Right. But you know what? I will give, because I believe, and you tell me if I'm wrong, based on what I remember about Gregory, he was one of those guys that was a little kind of
He's had some
go off, tend to go off and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's had some problems.
He managed that.
Yeah, he
well.
didn't freak out.
He didn't freak out at all. I mean, he went to the sideline to do, et cetera, et cetera. So he didn't hurt them by a display of emotions, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I had to give that to him. All right. So, Colts, Dallas, going against the bias. All right, here you go. Here's our argument team. Miami against the Vikings. Kirk Cousins got to do something. And if you notice, the net points is in red, which means both teams are in the negative in terms of net points. Miami, look at that strong 7 in turnover differential. However, with the points being what they are, the Vikings have a net point bias for score of 39. But again, at 39 on the negative side. So, what you got there?
Okay. Just the fact that Miami has that nice healthy 7 there and the turnover differential should scare Vikings fans a little bit the way Cousins has been throwing the ball. He's got to protect the ball. You can't just be tossing it up there. First of all, you got great weapons. Thielen just got his 100th catch for the season. 100 catches in a season? That's like That's like the 1,000-yard mark for a rusher. You hit that, you've arrived. You're major. Okay? You're major. So Thielen is nice. Stephon Diggs is nice. They don't use Kyle Rudolph or nothing. But Dalvin Cook did run well. So, when you look at the Vikings, you're like, there's nothing wrong with them on paper. It's just that I'm going to chalk last week up. It was just a clump. I expect them to throw the ball better, and I expect them to pretty much torch Miami. I don't see where Miami can really stop them. And I know people are going to be like, well, they hung with the Patriots last week and ended up beating them. Yeah. They might hang with the Vikings, too.
Well, the Vikings are 20th in points for. They're 11th on defense. So,
Right, that's what I'm saying. Their defense does not stink. They just...
Yeah. Miami's 22nd in points. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 22nd in points for, 26th in points against. But the turnover differential favors Vikings on +1. So,
they're fairly tough against the run, so therefore teams throw against them a lot. Therefore, we got a bunch of picks. Something always translates to something else. I still think the Vikings will win.
Oh, so you're with the Vikings?
Yeah,
going with the bias plus?
Absolutely.
Tennessee against your New York Football Giants. Tennessee has a net point bias in their favor of 21. Look at that healthy bias, turnover differential bias that the Giants have to bring that bias plus a 4 score for Tennessee down to the lowest of the weekend, 12.
From 21 down to 12. Who's Tennessee's quarterback? Marcus Mariota? Not having the greatest of years.
Truly.
Giants defense is really trying to prove something. They're playing extra hard because they lost their main guy, Landon Collins. What can I say? I know I'm a Giants fan. I'm picking them to win this game. I really don't think Tennessee has the tools to come in to their stadium and beat them. I just don't. Don't look for another Derrick Henry explosion. It's not going to happen. You can go on all the websites and look at the start.
You're trying to say your Giants won't be tackling as poorly as the Jaguars?
Hell no. Hell no. They'll be diving in his ankles. That's how you stop.
Oh.
But you can go on any website, any fantasy site where they have to start them, sit them, and they tell you who to start, who to sit. They all say they sit. And every last one of them. Every last one
against the Giants defense, they're saying sit Henry.
Sitting down.
Wow. That's some respect. Some respect for them Giants, that defense.
I'm going with them.
Hold on now. Let me just see.
Going against the bias. Again.
2 points against the Giants, ranked 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And the Titans
pretty high.
4th.
That's right. Well, I'm hoping Beckham is back, but
oh yeah, and again, we talked about Saquon, the gift Barkley. That's what we call him. Again, I mean, people are just awestruck by him. Probably odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year.
no doubt.
No doubt. Odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year.
No doubt about it.
The nicest guy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we've read about him, ultra nice. Ultra sensitive. Ultra run you over, run by you, jump over you. Absolutely amazing, man, and really probably gonna be the face of that franchise. I mean,
I believe so.
OBJ is the celebrity.
Yeah.
He's so much quieter, low key, and all of that. But when he talks, he sounds like a philosopher.
Yeah, they're not pushing that face of the franchise thing too much right now because it's his rookie year and they want to make sure that he stays comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think eventually, maybe as soon as next year, that's going to be it. He's going to be that guy.
He's got the commercial with the card.
Yeah.
And you know, right there, everybody's taking advantage of them. It's like,
yeah.
how's the card work?
He was a nice little rookie.
Oh, thank you for the soda.
That nice little rookie back to go off on these boys.
Absolutely. Okay. Washington. We won't use the second part of their name. As a matter of fact, on our Facebook page, Ben and Barry on Football, I posted that we will not offend Native Americans using that name. So they're Washington, and I even abbreviated. They're just Wash. It's just
dang.
Speaking of a team who's washing out, the Jaguars. Whoa. And again, net points is based on what you've done. Washington had played really well up to a certain point, and so their history is giving them a favorable net point rating. But again, both teams are in the negative, so it's only 13. But then they also played really well on defense, and that turnover differential, because, see, the Jaguars, one of the reasons that they're doing as poorly as they are is because they're 30th in turnover differential with minus 10,
which is that's a really, I mean, last year they were just the opposite. So that's a crazy turnaround for them. There's a lot of crazy things going on that team. I picked them last week to beat the Titans because they had won the week before that against the Colts in a 6-0 game. And I'm like, okay, this is it. They're waking up. And then they come out and they get blown out by basically Derrick Henry by himself. But I'm going to stick my neck out and go with him again.
Going with the Jags again.
I'm going with the Jags again.
Look at the Washington. I mean, what are they down?
Washington
they're
is
down to their fourth string quarterback right now.
Well, they're probably going to start Mark Sanchez.
Fourth string. He's fourth string.
He's third string.
He's third string.
He's third string. But remember, he just came in.
That's what I'm saying. He's off
Smith
the street
went down.
Yes. He's off the street
string. Yes, he's off the street third string, which is even worse. And they're like, well, you know, we have to play with a short playbook because he just got here. So he's been there all of 3 weeks, I think. Maybe 4. But he wasn't crap to begin with. So you can like take one of them weeks off for that.
Butt fumble waiting.
Yeah, they're I was about to say the whatchamacallits. Washington is really hurting right now. And it's really a shame because they started out so well and I thought they were going to be a force in the division again. Not that I'm hoping that would happen, of course, because I'm a Giants fan, but still, you want the division to be competitive. And they just, between injuries, I mean, basically it's just injuries.
Yeah, especially
the quarterback. You lose your 2 starting guards, you lose your first string and your second string quarterback. You lose a couple of DBs.
You know, we know about that in San Francisco.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And Kaepernick still hasn't gotten a call.
And the crap that they said about, thinking about Kaepernick, we know was phony.
His name got mentioned.
So it's like, bad vibes on there.
I was going to say they were better off not saying anything, but I think somebody did ask him a question. And I think that they were honest and said they didn't say they discussed bringing him in. They didn't say.
What did they say?
They said his name came up.
They said they discussed.
They had a discussion and his name came up.
No,
they had a discussion about it.
Kaepernick.
They said those words.
Having a discussion, we talking about the weather, and I say, oh, by the way, about Kaepernick. That's having a discussion. His name came up. Somebody said Kaepernick. Everybody said, and they left that alone. That was about as far as I'm concerned, that was about the extent of the discussion. However, long story short here, their net point bias plus 4. What's wrong with that? You said you're going to Jags. You're going against that. Yeah. Okay. Well, the next 2 teams that we have up here, we're looking at Tampa Bay and the Ravens. Now, the thing about these 2 teams is Tampa Bay, their defense is ranked 30th. The Ravens' defense is ranked 1st. Tampa Bay, however, is 10th on offense. The Ravens are 11th. Is that an 11? No, that's 13. I'm sorry, I can't see what it's on. So they're pretty close relative to the bat in terms of rankings.
Yeah, but look at the bias. And look at the difference between a bias and a bias plus. I'm really starting to notice that now. That tells a big story. Tampa Bay,
Both are in a negative, though.
Tampa Bay is a very, very poor man's Chiefs. And the Ravens winning the Arrowhead.
Poor man's Chiefs.
Offensively.
I don't think I've ever
I said a very, very poor man's Chiefs.
I've never heard that way.
They're a high-powered offense. I can't lie. They're a high-powered offense. So the Ravens go into, I was about to say Kansas City, Arrowhead, and really, really battle the high-powered offense of the Chiefs. Now they come back home, and here comes Jameis Winston. It could be a problem for Tampa Bay. This might be one game where that high-powered offense fizzles. I hope not, because I have Adam Humphries in one of my main fantasy. I had to pick him up because I had Emmanuel Sanders and he went down.
Right.
So I'm hoping good things for him. Okay. But if Jameis scores 30 and throws 2 picks, they'll probably lose. So I'm going with the Ravens. They'll probably throw for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. And they'll lose.
So you're going with the bias there. That's a nice size bias. Not as big as the next one.
This is the biggest one.
Division rivals. Look at that. Seattle visiting, going into San Fran, Levi Stadium, with a 149 net point bias and a 32 turnover differential bias. For a bias plus of 181 in their favor. Did I not say my beloved 49ers?
Here we have a team that turns the ball over a ton. Excuse me, let me be specific. Takes the ball away a ton. And a team that doesn't.
That gives the ball away. Yeah.
I'll keep it short and sweet because I don't want to hurt your feelings, man. But Seattle's going to take towards that. Now, I will say this. Let me say this. I was very impressed with what the Niners did last week. I really was. I love the new running back, Jeff Wilson. I really do. And I love Nick Mullen, too. He showed
baby.
He showed me a lot.
Nick and time.
He showed me a lot. In fact, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially if they can win another game out of these last 3. I don't know who else they got to play. They can win another game or possibly 2, which I doubt. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when Garoppolo comes back. I'm not saying he's that good, but C.J. Beathard stays probably not.
Yeah, he'll probably take C.J.'s place.
Yeah.
C.J.'s awareness.
Yeah, I was very impressed with them. The Seahawks cannot take them for granted, which I don't think they will going into Levi Stadium. I don't think they'll.
The challenge for the Niners is defense.
Right.
And one of the strengths of Seattle is that run.
It is the strength.
I mean, these guys are strong and fast.
Yes.
No.
And don't let the rookie boy get some carries because he can break one on you too. They really got a 3-headed.
They have Mike Davis, who played with my Niners, and I speed that I like him. He's like 3rd string. So
Carson's the angry runner.
So and that's where you're really I mean, if you look at where are we? We are 27th on defense, 24th on offense. Seattle's 9th on offense, 6th on defense. So that does not bode well with us, and we have a turnover differential of -21.
It looks like a beatdown, dude. But I'm hoping that it's not. I'm looking at last week's game, and I'm thinking that the Niners are going to give them a good run.
I'm putting my hopes and wishes on the weirdness of the division matchups.
It means something. The NFC West has always been tricky.
It's a little tricky, yeah. And well, it's funny because when Harbaugh was there, I used to think that him and what's the coach for Seattle?
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. Remember the Water Boy? And the one coach just had a mental thing about the other coach.
Right.
And it seemed Harbaugh had that mental thing.
Yeah.
And Carroll just had it on him. And
Yeah.
for some reason, we just, would go in there. A lot of people struggle in Seattle. You got the noise factor. You got all of that stuff. It's no joke.
Yeah, this one's at your place.
This is going to be at our place right here. I don't expect the Niners to win, but I'm looking for a game.
You can hope. You can always hope.
All right, let's go. Is that the no?
No, we're still on Sunday.
That's one of the late games, though. New England, Pittsburgh, baby. New England with a 10 net point bias and a 14 turnover differential bias in their favor for a bias +4 score of 24. Not big.
Those stumbling Steelers.
And it's in Pittsburgh.
Just when you think the Steelers got it all figured out, they go play the Raiders and look terrible.
They could have won that game.
Yeah,
they were
I know,
one slip field goal away from winning that, or was that tying it up? In any event, they needed that field goal, and the turf monster got to their kicker. And Rodgers is complaining about the X-ray equipment. They're saying he was not diagnosed. Not Rodgers.
Ben?
Roethlisberger.
Oh, with the rib?
The rib. They said that they didn't get a good picture because the X-ray equipment at the Oakland Raiders stadium was so old.
I'm not surprised. That stadium is a dump. And everybody who ever played there will tell you that. It's a dump. It's antiquated. It's falling apart. I shudder to think what the men's room looks like. I mean, it's just bad. But they're not going to put any money in anything because they're going to Vegas.
Also, is it them or the Chargers are getting sued by the city? One of those two things.
It's probably the Raiders. Yeah, it's probably the Raiders.
So who you got here? New England.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
Yes, fine.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh because I don't think the Patriots can stop Big Ben. He's practiced on a limited basis.
Even with the rib.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's still a little up in the air, but it looks pretty positive. And somehow the Raiders really gave Antonio Brown some trouble, but Juju still got off. Connor may come back. If he doesn't, Jalen Samuel's still there. He's serviceable. I think the Pittsburgh offense is a little better than the New England offense. It'll be a shootout. Probably will be a shootout.
The loss to the Raiders wasted a fantastic performance.
Mm-hmm.
That young boy, ball. And you know what? I was talking to my wife. You know who reminds me of Cuddy?
I was going to say that.
You have to understand. Cuddy, we played in our playing days. Michael Kuttner, throw a word out to you. I got to reach out to him. Yeah. This guy used to ride his bicycle from one end of the city to the other to play the game. Play the game.
A whole game, sometimes 2 games, and then get back on his bike.
Wait, no. Go to the bar with us.
Right, and drink.
and drink.
Then get back on
the bike and ride
Go
home.
see a girl.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother
and then go home.
Yeah, that type of athlete. The guy that could palm a basketball.
And I don't mean he was
6'2".
like pedaling along like this.
No, we're talking
He'd be
like flying. Just amazing what he could do. Just,
he does
that type of stuff.
But Juju is that kind of guy.
His bike to the game. Yeah, he used to ride it.
I remember somebody stole his bike.
They stole his bike. Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. I need that kind of a game from him again. I need AB to get at least 1 or 2 nice ones in the long run. It'd be nice if Connor comes back, but if he doesn't, I think they'll be okay. I really do. The Patriots, they're kind of limping a little bit. If Pittsburgh is this is a big statement game for them. They need this win. They need this win in the worst way. They really do. They need it.
Well, the way that New England went down with the miracle in Miami, and
that should never have
lost. But again, we talk about the strangeness of division games, and last week we talked, and I said to you, and we debated the issue. Did Belichick practicing some heat?
I don't.
You didn't think that was a big deal,
factor,
but I'm listening to again people in the media talking about how people are either adapting or not adapting to the change of temperature. We talk about Miami having to go to New England in the dead of winter.
Cold is a whole other thing.
Heat will sap you. Heat will.
But it wasn't that hot. They said it was a normal Miami day. Not saying it wasn't hot. It was hot.
It's just a.
They said it wasn't debilitating.
It's just a differential. If we're in summertime and we're used to 70, 80 degrees and it gets to 100 and we're starting to feel the heat. But if we're used to 70, 80 degrees, then an 85 degree day is no big deal. But if we've been used to 20 degrees, that's what we've been practicing and playing in and everything. And then all of a sudden you're at 85. That's a 65-degree change.
So if he didn't take them inside the bubble and turn the heat up so they could get used to playing in those kind of conditions, and he probably hasn't ever done it. And they have a losing record in Miami. So is he just being hard-headed? Is he refusing to believe that the weather has anything to do with it?
I don't know what's in his head. I'm just telling you, if I was the coach, we'd be in the sauna somewhere. You gotta be like 85 is feeling cool to me because we've been practicing in these saunas.
Bottom line is that last play should never have happened. Should have looked at the distance. He would have had thrown the ball for a Hail Mary and say, the heck with this Gronk stuff. They took their best safety out of the game.
Yeah, that was a tactical mistake. Because
they played when you mentioned for the Hail Mary 100%.
It would have been from the line of scrimmage to the end zone was 67 yards or something like that. 69 yards. I mean,
which means
who's throwing like
if he's back in the shotgun, he's throwing at 70-something yards. So that's tough.
That's a great point, and that's the point that level of football coach they should have recognized that. Right. Gronk doesn't. No. So, but hey, it made for a heck of a finish, man.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I loved it.
Gronk
I watched it like 10 times.
Unathletic.
I kept watching it.
As you could
possibly gonna fall right here. That was every time I watched. I was like, "Is it shoelace untied? Did he just trip over his own ankle? What was the turf monster? Turf monster guy.
Oh, he did, but he ran.
Did he really give him a move though?
Well, when I say the move, it wasn't like he was. He just
kicked it in gear.
Yeah, and went around.
He was like this, and then he was like,
yeah.
And Gronk
was trying to turn, and you know how what they talk about cornerbacks being able to turn their hips and all that stuff and make those half off. He got none of that. He got none of that.
Basically, again, when you get a chance, watch the All-22. Let me know. You can see what he's doing when the guy gets the ball and starts to run. Was he standing there watching, and then go, uh-oh?
Yeah.
Because it looked like he got up on him.
From what I've seen.
Because he should have had the angle.
Number one, he didn't have to position to the outside.
No.
He was kind of inside.
Yeah.
And when, like I said, when Drake went around, though, it was like...
I haven't seen that view,
but
you can take a look at that view. You can let me know. Okay. And anybody else out there that has the whatever you call it, Game Pass or whatever, go to the All-22. Take a look, and let's see if your tight end that you have playing safety that he's not used to kind of froze in the middle of the field, watching what was going on, going, oh, he got it. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no. Oh. By the time he decided to start heading that way, the ankle was already taken away.
And again, if you're not used to playing that position, you don't You see where your people are.
Oh,
You know
I'm
you
back
need
here
to
for
move
a
to
jump
the
ball. They didn't tell me I
inside
had to
or
chase
to the
somebody.
outside. So you're going with Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Want to get some bias, small bias
Yes.
in any event. Sunday nights,
This was easy.
Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Carson, and it was last year's LA Rams.
Yeah, that was the game that Wentz got hurt.
Wentz got hurt.
And now we're coming
Opened
back
up
to that
for
game
Nick
that he
Foles.
can't play because he's hurt.
And and I'm wondering if the Eagles think they can catch the Nick Foles playoff and run magic again this year. On my Sterling Net Point Power ranking last year on Christmas Day, I wrote one of my early blogs, and it was called "Can the RPO Save the Eagles Season?" And I laid out why I thought Nick was particularly adept, would be at running something like that.
Okay.
But this year, RPOs and things of that nature work really well when you have a strong run threat.
Absolutely.
Which I don't know if the Eagles have that right now. I don't think they have that strong run threat. So that play fake is not going to be as deceptive, or we shall see. But right now, as we look at it, the LA Rams have a 126 net point bias.
126.
126 and a turnover differential of 16. Putting that bias plus 4 score in the Rams' favor at 142. Same bias plus as the Ravens against Tampa Bay. And let's face it, I mean, the Eagles are 18th in net points, minus 14. And the Rams are third with plus 112. So, I mean, that's two teams that are on completely different tracks, through the season. And now there's a big question. Can Nick come in with an S on his chest?
That's not the question to me. The question to me is, can Goff get the bad taste of that last week game out of his mouth and get back to business of putting points on the board with all those weapons he's got? This is what we call a get-right game for the Rams. Coming off a loss, a tough game that a lot of people had you favored in, kind of got handled a little bit. But now you get to go home, look at the schedule, and go. So, yeah, I'm taking the Rams. No doubt about it.
And,
no doubt about it.
The Eagles, it's funny because Eagles right now are known to have problems in the defensive secondary. A lot of these guys weren't there, back in the season. A lot of new guys. And yet they're playing a lot of single high safety. Man up. And which is one of the reasons they got beat by the Cowboys, because they couldn't handle Amari Cooper in that situation. And now you're coming in, you got Gurley, and all of those weapons, and the offensive genius at coach. So this will be interesting, but. The Eagles played them last year. Again, not the same team, not the same situation. So I don't expect much different.
If you grab 10 Eagles fans off the street, like real fans, not these fly-by-night, I'm a fan because Uncle Judy's a fan. Real fans, and ask them what's wrong with the Eagles, a bunch of them will say, or if you ask them, name 3 things that's wrong with the Eagles. The number one thing they'll probably say is, the secondary is decimated. We got a bunch of no-name dudes back there that can't really cover. The second thing they might say would have something to do with coaching. They may say Doug Peterson isn't getting the job done the way he did last year, but a lot of them will say Jim Schwartz got to go. This dude plays such a vanilla defense all the time against passing teams, running teams. He doesn't load the box. He doesn't blitz. He thinks this generic wide 9, whatever the heck he wants to call it, can stop anything. and he's not stopping anything.
Their defensive line is their strength.
Right, but
their offense.
He's not helping them at all.
And their cornerbacks are weak. So blitzing is. We already talked about playing single high safety and putting them in a lot of one-on-one situations. Blitzing.
Yeah, but if you don't get to the quarterback, it's their strength because the rest of the team is so weak. It's not their strength because it's outstanding.
But the defensive line.
That's right. They're not outstanding.
They've got a pretty good defensive line.
They're not outstanding. If they're outstanding, they could cover up for some of that mess back there. If they don't put pressure on the passer, it's Katie by the door. They have no shot. If you know your DBs are bad, what do you do?
Well, their defense actually is 13, while the Rams' defense is 18. So, and it is what it is, but the bias plus of 142 is the largest of the weekend. Again, matching the Ravens. So we shall see. Nick played poorly going into the beginning of the season, but that we call that the second preseason. So a lot of teams weren't really, quite clicking.
Right, but he had a full camp. He took all the snaps with the number one offense.
Yes, he did.
Now,
but the number one offense doesn't really get to play together until after the season was started. Because they put them out.
Practice.
I'm talking about play together in the game. Like
they don't play that much time in preseason games anyway.
That's what I'm saying. So their preseason is the first 4 games. So
I don't want to hear that. He's the number one quarterback. He's taking all the snaps, a week's worth of snaps, and comes out and looks bad. Now, it's week 15. He hasn't taken any snaps with the number ones.
It's his time
to be better.
Hey, it's his time.
Stop it, man.
I'm not even a fan, so I'm just messing. Long story short, it's looking like the Rams. You going with the bias?
Gots to.
All right.
Here it is, Monday night.
There we go. Let's get that.
Monday night, down the bottom there. What does it look like? Oh, look at that. Division.
New Orleans.
Division.
178 bias plus score. Jimmy Christmas. Have the Panthers been playing this year?
They're not looking so good.
Uh-oh.
They're not looking so good.
Are you looking at something on my phone?
Yeah.
This thing is like practically dead.
Yeah, mine. I had to turn mine off.
There you go. It'll come up in a second.
Okay.
In the meantime, let's look at New Orleans coming in first in net points with 164. The Panthers coming in 16th with -8. New Orleans coming in second in scoring and 10th on defense. Panthers coming in 11th in scoring and 24th. That's what you really don't expect from the Panthers. That's not Panther football.
No.
When your defense is 24th. The Saints have a turnover differential in favor of 6. They have 8 to the Panthers 2, being them a 178 bias plus score in favor of the Saints.
Yeah, Panthers defense not playing well at all. Cam is struggling. They're blaming it on his shoulder. It's not hurting him so bad that he can't play, but it's obviously bothering him. He's limited in practice all week long. He's just getting out there and trying to win it. There's even been talk.
So you think?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Basically,
I think he's playing hurt. Yeah,
okay.
He's playing hurt. They're talking about scaling back the playbook. Well, losing Greg Olsen kind of hurts him too. But they're talking about scaling back the playbook and not have as many long passes because of his arms.
Oh, that's right.
Going to the dink and dunk. And
they had
notice,
the Hail Mary.
McCaffrey's going bananas.
Guy in. They brought
Right, they had to bring somebody in for the Hail Mary. That's correct.
But
that was like 2 weeks ago. So he's not getting better.
And again, the challenge with their quarterbacks who run a lot is they get hurt a lot.
I don't know if he got hurt running or if he got hurt getting sacked.
Well, could have been either one. But, a lot of times getting sacked is because you're not getting through your progressions quicker. Well, that's They're saying the same thing. So, and that's the issue for quarterbacks where the play devolves to a run.
Right.
And when you got a guy like him that can outrun people and then everybody gets excited when he makes that run. And it's amazing how many people I hear in the football world talking about, he needs to run more. Talking about different quarterbacks that can run. And I'm thinking, this is your suggestion? Tell these guys they need to run more? I mean, they said it about Lamar Jackson. One of the coaches, upcoming when they were having, I forget who they were playing, and the opposing coach said, "Yeah, well, we won't be doing that too much longer."
No.
But they know. That's why I was saying to you, if you're going to run that type of offense, then you need to have backups who can run that offense because these guys are going to get hurt. And if you're going to run the same offense, now if you're going to bring a backup, then you got, Kaepernick. At one point you had him. And then he's running the ball, and the backup is like a serious pocket player. But long story short, they tend to get hurt. And they even had to bring your boy, Bobby Griffin III, in. Your man.
Threw like two passes.
One out. Yeah. And it's exciting to see him run. But, it's a trepidation every time. It's trepidation. So, New Orleans Panthers, 172 plus 6, 178 in favor of New Orleans. What you got?
Going with New Orleans.
Going with that New Orleans?
Yes, sir.
Dancing down the, what's the name of the street?
Bourbon Street.
Dancing down.
I need to get there. I need to schedule a vacation.
Let's talk about a couple things I wanted to talk about. Do you have a rant for this week?
No, instead of a rant, I was going to try to give my outlook on the playoff picture.
Okay. I'll let you do that. Let me ask you a couple questions here.
Sure.
As you can see from this article, some owners wonder whether the NFL should get out of the investigation. That's been a topic of conversation.
We're talking about investigating players?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like your Kareem Hunt situation.
Right.
Should they just, like if you had, say you're working at a regular job,
right,
and you committed a crime, right, and you didn't have to miss any work, whatever your court dates was or whatever, But if your job got wind of it,
of what you did,
of what you're accused of doing, because in many of these cases,
right,
all things are
it's still
right.
Yeah.
Could they let you go just because of that? I mean, maybe if
they
you were working for the FBI, in certain states where you have at-will states, they can let you go for no good reason.
Yeah.
But in most cases, guys don't lose their job until they're, I guess, locked up and can't go to work or whatever. But what do you think about that?
When you talk about a regular job and they get wind of it, it might depend on what it is that you did. Which is, I guess, why the NFL does have their own investigation. You know what I mean? In other words, if they don't investigate anything, then they pretty much wait for the police to do their due diligence, get the police report, see what's going on, and then make a determination off of that, which they could do. Why they feel like they want to investigate it on their own? Because they employ these kind of guys. I don't know what different things they're looking for. As far as I know, if they get wind of something that happened, they should go to that police department, get the report, find out if there's video, and which I believe they did all that without going through proper channels, by the way, in the case of Kareem Hunt. They didn't fill out any paperwork to get that tape. They had that tape. It just kind of mysteriously ended up in New York, in the NFL office. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. Again, I think they decide what they're going to do according to what the so-called crime is. That's a tough question. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I'm sure a lot of people think, hey, it's the police's job. Let them investigate it. Let them come up with whatever conclusions. Let them go through the whole judicial process. Let's face it, if the guy's guilty, he's got to do time. You don't have to worry about suspending him or nothing. But then, see, they'll come back and they'll say, well, let's say you got to do 30 days in some community service. Then they'll come back and say, oh, by the way, you suspended 4 games.
Yeah. Reuben Foster, right? 2 situations.
Right.
His first situation, the girl said she lied.
Right.
Right. Now, had they kicked him off the team then, and then later in the court case, the girl recants her statement, says she lied. You know,
Bring it back.
you know, can you then? You know what I mean? I mean,
guess
you know, I mean, because sometimes they just like cut you. You're done. You know, and bringing a guy back in that situation, I'm sure he has a bad taste in his mouth about the team. But
yeah, but you heard what she did lately.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't use the second part.
Yeah.
Lately she said that she lied about lying, I think.
Almost like,
yeah.
kind of sounded to me like maybe he might have asked her because he loved her and he was going to change.
Well, that's a.
So she said, nah, I was lying when I said I lied. But,
well,
I thought he was going to change, so I didn't want him to get in trouble.
He got cut as much because I think they thought that he had stopped dealing with her after all that drama, and then he finally still dealing with her. It's like he put himself in a bad situation.
And you're making us look bad.
Yeah, we thought that you would make better decisions. Right. So we just don't like your decision-making process, right. Much less what it is that you're alleged. Right, that you've done. So I understood that. But it was an interesting question relative to that. Let's see here. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that there is a lot of conversation going on about the amount of points that are being scored. They're putting up the serious points nowadays. ESPN had this article that through the first 13 weeks of the 2018 campaign, NFL is averaging more points, 47.8 yards, 718, and passing TDs 3.5 per game than at any similar point in history. The expected points added, EPA, which is a measure of each play's change in net point advantage for the offense, based on down distance and yard line at each snap, has increased nearly 1,200 points from 2017, which is a massive jump. And again, as you can see, we're talking net points here. So, in the statistics, they recognize how important that is. But we talked a little bit about some of what these teams are doing and some of them offensively versus whether defense is now veering, as I called it, with beautiful head. And wow, I mean, the Chiefs are just the amazing team. Let's just point the fact out here that when we're talking about super offenses and being able to offset the defense, Chiefs are number 1 in scoring, 471 points so far. That's compared to the last place scoring of 178. So that's how strong they are in scoring. However, the Chiefs are 28th in defense, giving up 351 points. So that puts them second in net points, plus 120 and a playoff spot.
Like I said, super offense, and that is a super offense. Can carry. And again, you can't just look at the numbers. I mean, game flow dictates a lot of the outcomes also. And when you have a team with a super offense, you can control the game flow. You get out on somebody by 3 scores, it changes everything for the opposing team. It changes their entire attack. Now they can't run the ball. They can, but they don't want to as much, which takes away their play action. You know what I mean? Now they basically have to match you score for score just to get within striking distance that maybe they can get a late touchdown or a field goal to go into overtime or possibly beat you. It's a big deal. As far as the points are concerned, obviously you can point to the rule changes. You can also point to teams are starting to up tempo quite a bit. Teams are running to hurry up. Not the Chip Kelly hurry up, but the hurry up nonetheless. And have you noticed a lot of teams are huddling closer to the line of scrimmage? Have you noticed that?
Not necessarily, except that you see them when they do this, and
it's like a mush huddle.
Like, okay.
And then they just break and they're on the line, and they're lined up and they're ready to go. So that's got something to do with it.
Wow.
I call it a mush huddle.
A mush huddle.
Yeah, it's just a hodgepodge. They're all just constant.
Well, we've covered all the games through Monday. Before we depart, just want to mention a couple quick things. Oh, you have something that you want to mention about the playoffs, right?
Yes, let's talk about the playoffs. Let's face it, it's going into week 15.
Cause for one.
There's only 2 more weeks after this one. A lot of playoff stuff is in the air. Really quickly, I'm going to give you some facts, and I'm going to give you some of my opinion. First of all, you got teams that will probably win their divisions and will not be challenged for them. That would be the Patriots at 9-4, and the Saints at 11-2. Only those 2 teams. So when they show you their little things on television about these 4 guys they should be in, and then these guys are in the hunt and all that stuff, and they're emphasizing who's battling for the wild card spots. Nobody has been, I don't think anybody, it might be somebody, but I don't think anybody's been mathematically completely out of this thing.
Yeah, even the Eagles have
a chance.
Probably.
The Cowboys are leading the NFC East with an 8-5 record. The Eagles are behind them with a 6-7 record. There's 3 games left. Anything can happen. I doubt that it will. I would obviously favor the Cowboys to go ahead and win the division. But the Eagles are not mathematically out of it.
Right.
In the North, the Bears are 9-4. The Vikings, although they've been playing poorly, are 6-1. They are not mathematically out of it. They could go on a run. The Bears have shown that they can be beat. The Giants did it, so who the heck knows? This is when we get to that time of year where the old, hey, it's the NFL, any given Sunday, gets real dangerous, and teams get scared. The Rams are 11-2. The Seahawks are 8-5. Now, it's 3 games left, right? 9, 10, 11. I doubt that the Seahawks will overtake the Rams for the division, but at 8-5, they're sitting pretty for a wild card spot.
Sleeper.
They're sitting pretty for a wild card spot. All they got to do pretty much is hold serve, and they're in there. In the AFC, like I said, the Patriots don't have much to worry about. The Ravens are now nipping at their heels at 7-6. The Steelers are 7-5-1. They cannot afford to lose games because guess what? Texans are 9-4, Colts are 7-6, and the Titans are 7-6. Anything can happen there. And if the Steelers, who are 7-5-1, lose, and one of these 7-6 teams win, and the Ravens overtake them for the division, they could be out of the playoffs. It's crazy. I know it sounds crazy. It could happen. Chiefs, super offense, 11-2. Guess what? This weekend, something will happen because the Chargers are 10-3. Gotta love it.
All right, that's a pretty comprehensive rundown there.
Synopsis.
Not bad, not bad. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to have to think about that myself.
And rattle that one off there for you real quick.
So as we wrap up, we like to share a few things. First of all, Ben and Barry on football. We look to make sure that we communicate some of the great things that the NFL as an organization and the players more specifically doing in the community. And here you see my cause, my cleats. And again, this is something that the NFL has made some changes. They made some rule changes on the field. They made some changes off the field, and that will allow these guys to do things like wear custom-made cleats that reveal something about a cause that's close to their heart. And again, you got the wildfire leaf that they're doing, and how you can bid on authentic game-worn NFL crucial catch products, and all of these things. And these are things to help raise money for great causes. You can find Ben and Barry on football on Facebook at BNBOF. You can find Ben and Barry on Twitter. Again, we try to highlight some great things that are happening. A few current events, not as much, but this was pretty big news, so we had to share that with people. And I always like to mention that if you're on Twitter and you're about football and you're looking across the Twitter sphere, that's a word, right? Yeah. For people to follow, come check in with us, and you will see, follow who we follow. They got Ike Reese, who's an online radio personality now, former Eagle player. And the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings that our base information is based on. But Michael Barkan, NFL Mexico. Oh, as a matter of fact, they did a video, and I don't know, did I share this on Ben and Barry on football? I don't know if I shared, but the Derrick Henry run in French.
I bet you that sounded.
It was hilarious.
In French?
In French. Not even Spanish.
I think I heard it in Spanish.
Yeah, because, a lot of times Spanish.
But they do that. Telemundo and all that kind of stuff.
They're always on it. But yeah, in French. So I literally put a comment in about, I thought it was double dumb for the Jaguars to A, not kick the field goal, and then B, to give up that 99-yard run. But I translated it in French, and I posted it, I tweeted it out in French. I had two or 3 years of French back in high school. The only French I can remember off the top of my head is Père de Belle. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Sad to say. That I can run off like that. If that's all I had to say, I'd be good. And if you go to www.benandbarryonfootball.com, it will take you to our YouTube site, and all of the other information is there. So just wanted to let you know that you could find that good information. All right. We're about to lock this thing down. Any last words?
Go Noles.
Go Noles.